Alright, so we're trying a different type of content today, where we're looking at Rolling Stone lists. If you don't know, Rolling Stone are a music magazine, and they make a lot of lists that are pretty terrible usually. And I've seen this one before, it's pretty bad, but I don't remember it well. So we're just gonna look at it, and I'm gonna be debunking the list. We're gonna say, is it a good list? Is it bad? How bad is it compared to their best guitarist or best albums list? Which I will have to do it sometimes, because those are just some bad lists. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna talk about my opinion. And I should say I don't have the most knowledgeable music history, but I have, I think, good enough that I can, I know most of the people that will be on this list, and I can say some of these orders don't make sense. So let's read their criteria first. In 2004, 50 years after Elvis Presley walked into Sun Studios and cut That's Alright, Rolling Stone celebrated rock and roll's first half century in grand style, assembling a panel of 55 top musicians, writers, and industry executives, everyone from Keith Richards to Questlove of the Roots, and asked them to pick the most influential artists of the rock and roll era. 100 artists, published in 2 issues of Rolling Stone in 2004 and 2005, and it was updated in 2011, it's a broad survey of rock history spanning 60s heroes. The Beatles, Eminem, Chuck Berry, and Howlin' Wolf are examples. All right. Essays on the top 100 artists are by their peers. And okay. So if you look, they don't really say how they're. Is it by influence, by innovation, by musical talent? I guess I should also state, yeah, last updated 2010. So it might be a little outdated, but that's fine. I don't think there's anyone who was peak popularity after 2010 that I would put on this list. Also, I cannot imagine wanting to read Rolling Stone for any of these other. I do not care to know Rolling Stone's politics, TV, and movie opinions. That just sounds like a disaster. All right, let's just get on. Talk about the list. 100 is Talking Heads. I'm not gonna read the essays, I guess, but you can try to read them before I show, or you could go onto this list yourself. Actually, don't go to this list. Don't click on it. Don't give Rolling Stone any more money. Read them. I think this is a fine pick. Talking Heads and the lower portions of the list. One of the better new wave bands, in my opinion. Do their own thing. That's okay. 99, Carl Perkins. So I know he famously wrote Blue Suede Shoes, not Elvis. But I have to doubt this placement because I don't know any Carl Perkins released songs. I know he wrote for Elvis, but what did Carl Perkins release that everyone knows that makes him worthy of being on this list? I don't know. 8, Curtis Mayfield. I'm not 100% sure who this guy is. I think he's Motown. Let me read this. AM radio. Okay, yeah. So someone who's more knowledgeable about Motown, R&B, soul stuff, which is my weak point, you can tell me if this guy deserves to be on the list. In the comments. REM, I could see them squeezing into 97. Otherwise, I don't particularly like them. I think they're okay. I guess they kind of do their own thing, but I don't know. I don't like REM personally. But yeah, if we're gonna have them on the list, definitely should be in the lower parts. But yeah, I can kind of see some arguments. Diana Ross and the Supremes. Maybe, I don't know. This is gonna go back in the R&B era thing. I just don't know. I don't know R&B stuff. 95, Leonard Skinner, who I actually think should probably be higher. I don't like them. Leonard Skinner, I find them boring, but they are quite influential towards country rock. They really, southern rock. That they did their own thing. They're pretty big. A lot of musicians that I know like them. I would probably have them higher if I had to guess, even though I don't like them. 94, Nine Inch Nails. I don't know. I like Nine Inch Nails a lot. I don't know industrial stuff outside of them, so I don't know how influential they are or being on this list. But I think they are unique, innovative enough that Nine Inch Nails or Trent Reznor, I'm just gonna say them, can be on the list if in the lower parts. 3, Booker T and the MGs. We're gonna have to go back to Motown stuff. I don't know. 92, Guns N' Roses. I am not the biggest Guns N' Roses fan, I'll say, but I think they should be significantly higher. Probably they are not the most classy of rock bands, but I actually don't. Yeah, I think they should be higher though. They're very popular. They are at least somewhat influential. Slash is a very important guitarist. I would have them a little higher. 91, Tom Petty. He's a good writer. I think the arrangements for his songs are kind of boring. I do like the song he did with Stevie Nicks. That's like my favorite song from him. And Stevie Nicks wrote that, so that's interesting. She wrote the part for that. I don't know. I'm fine with him being on the list, but in the lower parts. This list has been pretty decent so far. Carlos Santana. This is probably good. I know Santana's very influential, but I've never really listened to him. So that kind of is eh. But yeah, I think maybe he should be higher. I don't know. Tell me. 89, the Yardbirds. They're a notable 60s band, but I don't know anyone who I've never seen someone say, I just love the Yardbirds. Even in the 70s and 60s, I didn't see that many people citing them as influences. But it is pretty crazy. They had Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page in a band. I am pronouncing things poorly today. So I don't know. I guess it's good they're lower on the list. They can be on the list. 88, Jay-Z. This is surprising considering I was mostly a prog and sludge metal person. Those are kind of my favorite genres. But I actually like a lot of 90s New York rap. Jay-Z is the exception. I don't know why, but I find his pop rap music boring. I find his straight up rap music boring. He does not do it for me. But he is a somewhat influential rapper, so I'm okay with him being lower on this list. Graham Parsons. Seems like this is a country guy. I don't know country music as well. Those are the things I don't know. Tupac. He's an important rapper. I personally don't. He's one of my less favorite. You know, if you search up best rap albums of the 90s, I am going to take my Wu-Tang Clan, my Tribe Called Quest albums over my Tupac albums. I would take Nas and Biggie. I don't personally love Tupac, but he's a very important rapper. I think you can maybe argue he should be higher. 85, Black Sabbath. I think, considering this is Rolling Stone and they're probably not putting a big focus on metal music, I think this is probably okay. Now, if I'm personally making this list, I'd have them much higher. But because they are so important to the sound of metal, there's so many bands that are basically based their whole discography off of a Black Sabbath song. But I don't know. I would put them higher, but considering Rolling Stone is probably not putting a lot of stuff on metal, I think this is fine. 84, James Taylor. Don't know who this is, but apparently if he inspired Art Garfunkel is singing James Taylor, maybe he should be on the list. I don't know, but he looks like an irritating pop star who sucks. But I guess I shouldn't be judging him off of look. But I don't know. 83, Eminem. Another one I could kind of see higher. I think he kind of gets crap now from the modern rap fan base, just because he hasn't made anything good since 2002. But he's a very good technical rapper. He was very important towards the expansion of rap commercialization, which I guess could be seen as worse for the music, but he, good for some things. For sales, I would have Eminem higher or around here. Do Credence, I could see them being higher. I think if we're kind of doing the country rock, I definitely like them more than Leonard Skinner. I don't know that they're more influential, but that's fine. How did Dead Kennedys get mentioned here? I'm actually interested. I'm going to read this for a little bit on my own. I'm not going to announce it. The Credence has the dullest album cover ever. That's pretty accurate. Okay. The Drifters, I don't know them. That Motown stuff, you tell me. Elvis Costello. This is actually one of my big musical blind spots. I know who Elvis Costello is. I've known for a long time, but I've never listened to a song from him. So, I don't know. I guess he probably goes on this list. He's pretty famous, as I know. He's quite influential. The Four Tops, I don't know. I don't know them. They're an R&B group. The Stooges, I think 70s is a relatively good spot for them. They are big towards the proto-punk scene. But if we're putting this on the hierarchy of rock bands, there's no shot they go higher than Black Sabbath. No shot. And I am Guns N' Roses, maybe. I don't think so, though. The Guns N' Roses are certainly more heavily talked about than the Stooges. They're inspiring more new guitarists. But yeah, I would put the Stooges on the list. Beastie Boys, I don't know that I would. If we're going super early into the 80s, Rakim better be on this list if we're putting Beastie Boys, I would say. I find them rather corny personally. And I don't know how important they are to hip hop, but I certainly wouldn't have them above Eminem and Tupac. That is a little ridiculous. The Shirelles, don't know Motown, I don't know. The Eagles, I mean, all their songs that aren't hits suck. So I don't know how they should be on this. I don't think they should be on this list. They kind of suck as a band, in my opinion. But I don't like country, so who knows? I don't know. It's gonna should the Eagles be on this list? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't like them. 74, Hank Williams, the country guy. I don't know country, but he's probably okay being on this list. I know who Hank Williams is. 73, Radiohead. I think this is a little bit of a bizarre placement for 2010, but I think now this is actually a pretty good placement for Radiohead. They do their own thing. I personally really love Radiohead. I think Kid A and OK Computer and Rainbows, those are some of the greatest albums ever made. But I also don't think they've inspired like as many popular artists. I mean, but they've certainly done more in the alternative scene. Inspired a lot more. So I'll say this is probably about right. 73. 72, AC/DC. Yeah, they're important towards the sound of metal. They're big hard rock bands. Their songs all sound the same, but I think this is a relatively good placement for them. I'd put them like the same as Guns N' Roses though. So maybe they should probably be a little higher than Guns N' Roses. So I don't know, maybe move them a little off and put Guns N' Roses here. I think fine. 71, Frank Zappa. I would like to see him higher, because if I remember right, he is like the only prog person on this list. I said earlier I'm a big prog fan. I think he did so many genres and did all of them well, and it's completely unique. But he's not super popular or mainstream, so I can see how he gets on the lower end of this list. 70, The Police. They're popular. It's not weird. I don't really like their discography outside of their hits. I think like they don't like suck like the Eagles, where their hits are okay and then the rest of their discography sucks. But I have not heard a non-hit song that I can really remember from The Police. Maybe suggest stuff in the comments if you know. 69, Jackie Wilson. So I don't know. Maybe they should be here. I think 70 is relatively okay. I'd probably put them a little lower. Jackie Wilson. I don't know this guy. More R&B stuff, it appears. Temptations, I do know who they are in the Motown stuff scene. But like I said, I don't know who's important, who's not. So just gonna probably decent pick, maybe. 67, Cream. I would say this is about right. Yeah, I don't have a lot to say. Clapton's an important guitarist. Cream did an important melding of rock and blues to create new sounds. Pick 66, Al Green. I know who he is. I don't know R&B, how important he is or not. So, should he be on the list? I don't know. 65, The Kinks. They are important in the 60s. I think 65 is fine pick, but I would also I don't know if I'm not ranking them over Black Sabbath any day. Unless you are going out of your way to hate metal, I don't see why they're above Black Sabbath or AC/DC. I think both of them beat the Kinks in terms of influence. Phil Spector. I've heard this guy's name. I'm not sure who he is. Tina Turner. I don't know a lot of her music. Obviously, I know who she is. I don't know how important she was till the 80s. I don't know where I'd put Tina Turner. 60s seems relatively alright. Joni Mitchell, no, he is. Never listened to her, but she's very well liked. That album, Blue, is generally on greatest albums of all time list. So maybe, I don't know. Metallica, I think 60s is a good spot for Metallica. I could see arguments for them being higher than Black Sabbath. I wouldn't put them higher, but I could see arguments. But yeah, I think Metallica certainly. I think if we're putting them in the 60s, Black Sabbath should be in the 50s. Or put Black Sabbath near them. It doesn't really make any sense to have Metallica above Black Sabbath in terms of 20 spots ahead. Just weird. But I think 60s is relatively good for Metallica. 60, the Sex Pistols. Now, they are important towards the sound of punk, but they also only released one album and definitely lose out on the musical talent spectrum to almost everyone below them. So I don't know how I feel about this. I'm okay with them being on the list, but it just feels weird to have them above Metallica and AC/DC and Frank Zappa, who would just destroy them in terms of musical talent. But I'm not sure. 59, Aerosmith. Aerosmith is another band I should probably listen to more. I know a lot about them, but I've never really listened to a lot of their stuff. Their 90s pop era is bad, but a lot of people like their 70s stuff. Definitely has some influence on it. So 59, probably a decent spot for Aerosmith. Parliament Funkadelic. I've listened to a lot of it. I shouldn't say a lot. I've listened to some. I know what Parliament and Funkadelic do. I don't know a super lot about the funk or funk rock scene. So I guess 50s, having them 30 spots ahead of Black Sabbath is a little weird to me. I know I keep mentioning Black Sabbath, but really bothering me. I guess 50s is fine. I don't think this is terrible. Grateful Dead, they suck. I hate them, but they are popular, so I guess they can be on this list. Dr. Dre in the 50s, yeah, don't have a problem with him being one of the highest rap people of all time. Kind of pioneered G-Funk, is a fantastic producer. I would have him there. Eric Clapton, this is the first just zero, there is no explanation pick. There is no way solo Eric Clapton is above Cream. And why do you put both? Just put one of them. It's just stupid of you to put both of them. Like, this person is talking about Eric Clapton as a guitarist, and all his stuff as most of his stuff as a guitarist that people find influential was when he was in Cream. This is no shot that Eric Clapton, the solo artist, should be on this list. No shot. Alan Wolf, I know some about blues. I don't know a lot, but yeah, I'm not gonna complain about this. Seems like a good placement. Allman Brothers Band, they are definitely somewhat worthy of being on this list. I would probably swap them and Skynyrd. I think Skynyrd, I like Allman Brothers more. I don't particularly like either of them, but I say I like Allman Brothers more. But I think Skynyrd are mentioned a lot more and are a bigger band. Billy Gibbons, I would like to see ZZ Top on this list somewhere. I guess ZZ Top should have probably been the lower segments, but if they were on this list, I would put them in the 70s or 80s probably. I don't know. They should be on the list, but they're too high, in my opinion. Queen, this is my biggest treasonous rock take. I hate Queen. I 100% agree. I don't remember exactly, but Robert Smith from The Cure thinks they suck too. I agree with him. Their rock stuff on their first 3 albums is okay, but it's mostly boring. I don't know. It just doesn't grab me. I don't know why it does. It's like right up my alley, but it doesn't do anything. I'll agree. Bohemian Rhapsody is arguably the greatest song ever written, but they never wrote another good song. I hate Freddie Mercury's voice. They're basically just a novelty band after, once you get into the 80s. They're just a novelty pop band. They're not a rock band. I've never seen a musician I like cite Queen as an influence. Gerard Way certainly is not a musician I like, although he's better than most of the pop punk emo people. But yeah, no, I'm okay with Queen being on the list, but they're too high in my opinion. And if I remember right, the lists will start going in the crapper right here. Pink Floyd at 51. So I could be biased here a little bit. Pink Floyd are my favorite classic rock band for sure. But in terms of influence and innovation and making consistently great albums in a row, there are no way there are 50 artists ahead of Pink Floyd. And also, there's going to be so many people who are less musically talented than Pink Floyd that will be higher. There's no shot. And especially, they're going to put some... I remember this list a little bit more. It hasn't been terrible yet. It's going to get really bad, if I remember correctly. There's no shot, in my opinion, that anyone is above Pink Floyd. That most people are going to... I think they should be in the top 20 or top 30. At least, I mean, they're not the biggest, most mainstream rock band, but they were so much more creative than many of the people I don't name 50 artists more influential, innovative, creative, who made good albums in a row than Pink Floyd. That's what I'll say. That was a little bit of a messy segment. 50, the band. I know Roger Waters likes the band, but once again, and the band, how? Pink Floyd have more hits. They, no way. I mean, 50 maybe. I've never listened to them, but I know what they do, or I've listened to them a little bit. I've never like fully taken the band seriously. I've never listened to an album, but yeah, I don't know. All right, I'm back. I took a little break for a second, but I was saying, like, this list is kind of just messed up because they put Pink Floyd, who are the fourth or fifth most important rock band ever, at 50th, at 51st. So now every time they put another rock band above it, who isn't the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, or the Rolling Stones, it just makes everything look weird. 49, Elton John. He has a lot of hits. I like his music. Okay, he's got a few good albums. I think that's fine. Maybe you can be higher. Yeah. 48, Run DMC. So it seems like they're kind of going back to the earliest days of rap, like the early 80s stuff, which I don't personally love. I find a little boring. I wouldn't see Run DMC as more important to hip hop necessarily than Eminem or Tupac, but I guess you could say maybe it's an okay spot. I'm not sure. I know I personally look at the 90s stuff as the best hip hop stuff more than the 80s. I don't know. It depends how you go. But yeah, if you're putting Run DMC and Beastie Boys, Rakim better be on this list. Eric B and Rakim. Patti Smith. I just don't know anything about her. I know who she is, but I don't really know what her music does. So maybe this is an okay spot. I know Horses is generally ranked like a high album on a lot of lists. Who knows? Or someone knows. Go tell me. I say it again. I want people in the comments to give their opinion to this, say how I'm wrong or not. 46, Janis Joplin. I haven't listened to her a lot, but yeah, I think it's fair to put her on the list. Maybe not above Pink Floyd, but maybe on the list. 45, The Byrds. This is the one place there is no mark in which the Byrds beat Pink Floyd. They are not more musically talented. They do not write better songs. They did not have more hits. They are not as influential. They are not as creative. There's no shot. Like, maybe the Byrds should be on this list. I don't know anything about them. I know they covered Mr. Tambourine Man by Bob Dylan, which is whatever song. I'll get to my opinion on Bob Dylan later. But yeah, no shot they're above any. You have to really, really not like even hard rock. You have to view as just noise to like justify putting these people 40 spots ahead of Black Sabbath. There is no way more bands have inspired from the Byrds compared to Black Sabbath. Yeah. Public Enemy. I find them a little overrated in the rap scene, but they are, important to rap, especially if you're going more on the 80s scene. I suppose it's maybe okay. I'd put them lower though. And we better have my Tribe Called Quest and Wu-Tang Clan, or MF Dooms. 43, Sly and the Family Stone. I know King's X love them, who are probably the most underrated band ever. Just King's X. They probably, by a lot of metrics aren't on this list, but there are metrics where they should be. But, yeah, I know a lot of people like Sly and the Family Stone. I've never looked into their catalog, so I don't know. But maybe it's a good pick. Van Morrison. I don't know a lot about him. I've heard one of his songs. It's okay. Should he be here, maybe? I don't know. You tell me. This is singer, songwriter, R&B, and country are the three stuff where I just don't know. But yeah, I think from what I know, from the few stuff I do know, he could probably be on this list at 40s. It's fine. I would not put him above Pink Floyd. The Doors are a great band. 41 is a pretty good spot for them. I wouldn't put them above Pink Floyd or Black Sabbath. But 41, good spot. They did their own thing. Yeah. Simon and Garfunkel. Yeah. Right, great songs. Probably should be on this list. I actually think John Anderson from Yes said his biggest influence is Simon and Garfunkel. David Bowie at 39. Yep, I agree. Having good stuff. Just so much unique and different stuff. Absolutely. John Lennon. Solo John Lennon, I think maybe can be on the list. Although I think if you're putting a solo Beatle, be George Harrison, in my opinion, had the best. Not the solo career with the most hits, but wrote the best songs. Yeah, but John Lennon, he wrote good songs. I would definitely have him much lower though if we're going off his solo career. But I guess he could be on the list. He's far too high. 37, Roy Orbison. I'm not. I know 50's rock and roll okay, but I don't know it super well. So I don't know where I'd put him. Probably not this high. Madonna, she has a lot of hits, but and I guess she I don't know. I guess pop. I'm also mainstream. 80s to 2000s pop. I'm not also especially knowledgeable about. But yeah, got a lot of hits. I don't think her music's particularly good. But I guess yeah, she probably did inspire Britney Spears. So I definitely would put her lower, but I think having her on the list is fine. 35, Michael Jackson. There's no shot. There's no shot. Um, yeah, no. He is so iconic. He had a lot of hits. He's influential towards pop music. He did his own thing. He should be in the top 10, and I say this is not the biggest Michael Jackson fan. I think usually I see Michael Jackson a number one at greatest artist of all time, which is wrong. There is a very obvious number one, which I think they're gonna get right. I hope Rolling Stone gets it right. But yes, Michael Jackson should be higher. We're just going off of number hits stuff. Maybe he's not as musically talented, but they're gonna put people above him who should just there's no shot are above Michael Jackson. Neil Young, like Neil Young. Yeah, I know he's somewhat influential, but he has the same thing of Bob Dylan to me. Or spoilers for my opinion, Bob Dylan. They can write decent songs, but their musical arrangements are so boring that the songs suck until someone covers them and make them good. But Neil Young has this annoying freaking political thing. So I don't know. I'm okay with him being on the list, but I'd put him lower. The Everly Brothers. Yeah, they are important in ways, but there's no shot that they are more important than Pink Floyd, Black Sabbath, or Michael Jackson or David Bowie. How? You just give it to how? Doesn't make any sense. Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. I know who they are, but I don't know Motown enough, so maybe it seems a little ridiculous. But I am kind of a rock-focused guy. Johnny Cash. I don't know exactly here. I know Johnny Cash. I don't know where I necessarily place him, but I don't know that I'd put him that high. I probably wouldn't have, but yeah, Johnny Cash should be up there. I'll say my one thing about Johnny Cash. Me and my dad are the only people who agree on this. But whenever you search up covers of songs that are better than the original, you get Johnny Cash's version of Hurt. And you are on freaking drugs if you think that is better than the Nine Inch Nails version. That's all I'll say. There. It is not as good. It is not the final to an amazing album. It is less interesting musical arrangements. Johnny Cash is a worse singer than Trent Reznor, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know why everyone loves his version of Hurt. It is different. It's good still. But the original version is definitely better. But that's actually one of the only Johnny Cash songs I've listened to. So I guess Johnny Cash at 31 is fine, but there are definitely a few people who I would have above him for sure. 30, Nirvana. Yeah, I'd say this is about right. They spearheaded the grunge movement. I personally love them. I know a lot of people who are prog fans don't. But yep, I would say I think 30 is a good spot for Nirvana. The Who. Yeah, I definitely have them in the top 50 somewhere. I like The Who pretty good. I'm not their biggest fan, but I think Quadrophenia and Tommy are pretty good records. I would say 29 is about fine. The Clash. I think they're too high. I've never really gotten into them. I've listened to most of London Calling, and I'll say the song London Calling is great. The rest of the album is not that great, in my opinion. It doesn't suck, but yeah, I've never gotten into the Clash. And then when they went a little more poppy into the 80s, they kind of got worse for me. So I see them being on the list, but certainly not this high. They should be much far lower, in my opinion. Prince, I'm not the biggest fan of Prince. He's extremely talented, but I've never loved his music. As a guitar player, I think he's a little overrated too. Sometimes he's like top 30 on best guitarist lists, and that's a little weird. But yeah, Prince should be on the list, but I have him this high, not necessarily. The Ramones. Yeah, no shot. No freaking way. They should be on the list probably because they do start punk. But they're like so they're just not talented. They innovated, and they were influential, but their way of innovating was playing three power chords really fast. which is not hard to do. They are like by far last. Well, I can't say they're probably more musically talented than some of the rappers. Still, like no way. They should be on the list somewhere, but they are not 25 spots above Pink Floyd. They are not 60 spots ahead of Black Sabbath. There's no way. And if we're putting the people who started punk, where are King Crimson, the people who started prog? I know punk is more popular than prog, but if we're putting the Ramones at 26, King Crimson should be somewhere on this list, I think. All right. Fats Domino. I don't know a lot about him. Is it? Well, no. I do. I know quite a bit about Fats Domino. He should probably be on the list somewhere if going big into our 50s, rock and rollers. But I don't think he's as notable when you think of great discographies. You know, he is in a worse era for that. But I don't know that many Fats Domino songs that are popular in this. Jerry Lee Lewis, another guy. I think Fats Domino. I know more from him. I mean, I know Great Balls of Fire from Jerry Lee Lewis. I don't know. I think we're putting too much hype on 50s people. Bruce Springsteen. I hate Bruce Springsteen. I hate his voice. I think most of his songs are boring, but he's not terrible. I'd have him lower, but I'm fine with him being on the list. No. Yeah, no shot. U2. They can be on the list. They had big hits, even though. Well, I see Chris Martin. They're basically prototype Coldplay, where their songs are so monotone and boring. Like, I don't hate U2. I definitely don't hate them. I know a lot of people hate them who love prog. I don't hate them. But yeah, no, they're not 22. That is insane. What is Redding? He's got some hits. I don't know. I think we're putting too much hype on Motown people. They're not musical talented. They get blown out by most of rock and metal people. I hate to say it, but I guess it depends on you defining musical talent as writing songs and having a good voice. But in terms of being good on instruments, a lot of these people from Motown and rap and punk are getting blown out by anyone in the 70s. But maybe it's I suppose Diddley. Don't know a super lot of Bo Diddley. I know he's a 50s rock and roll pioneer. Which I think we're putting too much hype on these people. On this list. I don't get it. I mean, they're important. They start blues guitar. They invent the rock and roll sound, obviously, but I don't see them being. I don't. If you're putting this guy versus Pink Floyd and Black Sabbath, just the entire bands versus this guy, I will never pick Bo Diddley. Never. Velvet Underground. Okay. They should be on the list. They're very important. I actually think you can say the first album is the greatest album of all time from an influence standpoint. But yeah, their discography is a little late. I don't know that I'd have them this high. But they should definitely be on the list and towards probably top 60 at least, I would say. Not the biggest fan. At least they didn't put solo Lou Reed. Then I would lose my mind. They put solo Lou Reed. Yeah. Oh, that sucks. So this list could be worse. 18, Marvin Gaye. I think that their number one album on their best albums of all time list is What's Going On, which is a decent enough album, but it's definitely not the best album of all time. Yeah, Marvin Gaye. I don't really care about him, but he's popular for a reason. He wrote hits. Is what it is. Muddy Waters. If we're putting a blues person, B.B. King is definitely the guy who they'll probably have on this list. But Muddy Waters, I suppose that's fine. I'm not gonna say too much about him being 17. I just think we're putting too many blues players. Like I guess this could be showing my knowledge of not having blues. But when you think, I kind of also think about music in terms of albums instead of songs, so it's a little unfair to the blues players because they weren't really releasing albums at those times. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't. I don't think people think about them as much in the new age. So I don't necessarily see them being this high. But I'd be fine with all of them on the list, but not this high. Sam Cooke. I don't know who this guy is, but I am. If Art Garfunkel's writing the essay, then I'm a little inclined to trust him. But probably not 16. Stevie Wonder. This is a good pick. My soul guy. I know a lot about Stevie Wonder. Listen to a lot of his stuff. No qualms with him being at 15. Led Zeppelin at 14. Yep. Heavy metal would not exist without Led Zeppelin. If it did, it would suck. Good job. Correct Dave Grohl, who wrote the essay there. I agree. Led Zeppelin, the third most important rock band of all time. Maybe they should be top 10, but 14, yeah, that's good. good placement. Buddy Holly. Well, this is another weird one. Just he has a decent amount of hits. He is important. It just feels weird to me. Directly above Led Zeppelin, I think it's quite weird. I don't see it. But I'm fine with Buddy Holly being on the list. Beach Boys at 12. Yeah, they should definitely be in the top 30. I personally find a lot of their stuff boring. It's the same thing. Bob Dylan. I definitely like the Beach Boys more than Bob Dylan or Bruce Springsteen or Tom Petty or any of the other people I mentioned who are, they write good songs, but their musical arrangements are boring. I think of those guys that I mentioned in this video, Beach Boys, I'd rank the highest. But yeah, very important stuff. I don't personally love it. I probably wouldn't have them above Led Zeppelin, but I'm not mad at 12. 12 is a good pick. Bob Marley at 11. I don't know a lot about reggae. Bob Marley does have a lot of hits, but yeah, I don't quite see him being this high, but he can be up there, as far as I know. Ray Charles. Very impressed what he was able to do, being blind. But yeah, I wouldn't put him above Stevie Wonder. Ray Charles. He has hits. He's important to the developing sound of jazz, rock and roll, R&B fusions, but I don't see him at 10. I don't really see it. This is another. I don't quite see her being this high for sure. Yeah, I don't see it. More R&B stuff. She has a lot of hits, but when I just think when I think great songs, great albums, which is I guess I explained a little biased towards rock bands with how I think. I don't see her being. I just don't see her putting her above a lot of people. 8 Little Richard. Yeah, one of the best rock and roll pioneers for sure, my opinion, of the 50s. So I guess if we're trying to put some of those in the top 10, I will say Little Richard at 8. Not necessarily accused of. James Brown at 7. Yeah, pretty okay. Yeah, I don't personally love him as much as a lot of fans, but yeah, I'm not mad at 7 for James Brown. Hendrix at 6. This is a weird one. I don't think so. He is, if we're saying as a guitarist, yeah. As an artist, I wouldn't put him above Led Zeppelin. I wouldn't put him above Pink Floyd. I probably wouldn't put him above Black Sabbath, but Jimi Hendrix is a hard one to rank, I'll say. Number 5, Chuck Berry. I can kind of see this, but I don't know. I'm not sure. He has the rock and roll sound, but he kind of creates the rock and roll sound on his guitar. But I don't know. I don't know if I'd have him in the top 5. Number 4, the Rolling Stones. Absolutely top 4. Second best rock band of all time. Greatest, I should say. Yeah, pioneer the sound of rock and roll. Absolutely. Right? Wrote a bunch of hits to be in the top 4. Elvis at 3. People kind of try to look back at Elvis now, being like, well, actually, he kind of ripped off his sounds, you could say. But I think, you can definitely acknowledge the people who influenced Elvis. But I would say this: he has so many hits. He's the main inspiration for the Beatles. Not inspiration. That's not a word. I would put him at number 3 or number 2. I agree. 2, Bob Dylan. I don't quite get this. Like I said before, I said it a few times in this video probably. I find Bob Dylan, he writes such great melodies and really great songs, but they suck to listen to because his arrangements are so boring. But yeah, that's why whenever someone covers a Bob Dylan song, it's awesome, but the Bob Dylan version is not awesome. He also sucks as a singer. Yeah, and I've seen so many people say sources say this person was really inspired by Bob Dylan, but I rarely ever hear that sounds like Bob Dylan, except for kind of the Nowhere Man, the Beatles song. I was like, okay, I can see how that's Bob Dylan. Kind of. I don't know. Bob Dylan should be on the list somewhere, not in the top 10, I would say. Number 1 is the Beatles. Absolutely, they blow everyone else out of the water if we're making a list. No one is beating them in terms of innovation at the time. No one is beating them in terms of writing good songs consistently. No one is beating them in terms of making, in 8 years, 13 albums, most of them being great. Yeah. The Beatles are number one by such an insane margin. That is, it's not even close. And I'll say one thing, I like these illustrations that they included on this list. That's cool. So at the end of this list, definitely not one of the worst Rolling Stone things, but it just a weird list. If I made a top 100 artist list, it would look very different. I don't agree. I don't agree with most of this list. I think they are too nice to Motown and rock and roll 50s pioneers, who I am a little biased to, obviously not loving that style of music, but I think they're not as musically talented. And I guess. But they have hits, I'm not sure. So this is a hard list to make. It is hard to combine genres. And it's certainly not the worst Rolling Stone list, but it's also not a good list. And I still think you should not consume Rolling Stone, and you will be a better person for it. Your life will be happier. I'm just recording this segment to finish off the video. As always, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and you could comment on what you agreed with and disagreed with. So a few things I noticed after making the video for this list. They did not put B.B. King, who is probably the most important blues player, but he's not on the list. But Bo Diddley is. That's pretty stupid. And also in the jazz department, they didn't put Miles Davis or John Coltrane. I'm not a big jazz fan. I don't know a lot about jazz, but they did not count technical mastery at all if those guys aren't on the list. So yeah, that's it for this video. Goodbye.